Yo, what's going on? I'm going to be talking about the keybinds I use, what kind of macros I am using, what I would recommend, what I wouldn't recommend, how to set it up, what exactly does it do for me, what kind of problems I'm having even. But yeah, I'll just get straight into it, man. Let me find a scenic spot. All right, so we're going to be talking about the complicated things first. Right, all the complicated things. Going to be getting to the lean peaks, all that stuff later on. Let's talk about next walk pose and previous walk pose. Now, this one is interesting because I have it on multiple keybinds, right? So I have a G502, right? It's going to be on the screen. The thing's got 11 buttons on it. The key I use for arrow up is G8. Arrow down is G7. It's on the side of the mouse. You can see it there. It's highlighted. Because I have macroed the up and down keys to my mouse, whenever I hold down left control and press G8, allows me to go to the next walk pose, and G7 is the previous walk pose, just up and down, real simple, right? It's a combination of me holding down control on my keyboard and pressing the keys on my mouse that I have a macro to. Next and previous keys is also the same kind of concept. This time I'm using a modifier key for a different reason. I'll call these modifier keys like left control, left alt, right control, right shift, etc. They're all modifier keys. Menu is just another modifier key I have on my Wooting. Comes on the Wooting. So it could be anything. It could be left control, right control, preferably something that you're not going to be using independently, right? So again, next keys is arrow up plus menu, previous arrow down plus menu. The reason I have a modifier key is because I don't want this game to fire off the arrow up or arrow down by itself. Another key has to be pressed. I want this game to recognize the state of my character, right? Which you can do using a modifier key. If you just understand what happens if I don't use a modifier key, right? Because I have different actions on the same button, it's going to conflict with each other. Next and previous, you would think it only goes through the menus when you're looking at it. Like on doors, for example, you can open it, breach it. When you're healing, it goes through the menus, etc. But it not only does that, but also slows your movement speed down when you press previous or next, depending on the state you're in. So for example, if I move around and I just press previous, if you look on the bottom left, you'll see my movement speed getting slower. It goes in ticks. If I press next, it's going to go to the next movement speed, right? This is a problem because if I go to aim in and hold breath, which is also on G8, we just talked about that, the G8 key, it's also going to press next. And because I'm pressing next, which affects the movement speed, it's going to try to go to the next movement speed. But on the bottom left, because I'm aimed in, it halves your movement speed. So there is no next. So if I press next, it's going to lock out at the halfway mark, which is the only thing available. So for example, I aim in and then hold my breath, which is the same button as next. When I go to release aim, you can see it's locked at the halfway mark. So if I want to undo this, walk at full movement speed, I'm going to have to either press next a bunch of times to get back to the default state or press shift, which is annoying. Nobody wants to do that, right? So if we go back to the modifier keys, if I set it to what I had before, menu plus up and menu plus down, menu and the arrows have to be pressed for it to go to the next key, right? We'll talk about what I have menu on later. But for example, if I hold breath with G8, which is also my next key, my movement speed doesn't change. It's still at default. If I don't use the modifier key, which is menu, it's going to go back down to the halfway mark. A little inconvenience. I didn't want to deal with that, so I just decided to find a workaround. No, Jenny from the future. Drop a like on the video. What are you doing? What are you doing? Drop a like on the video and download Opera GX. I appreciate it. It's a completely free browser. Recommend it. Fully customizable. Better than any browsers. Got GX controls. You can control the amount of RAM, CPU usage, internet access. It's a lot, man. Links in the description. But yeah, there's a bunch of things like that in the game to where it doesn't understand what state you're in unless you use modifier keys. If you use a different keybind for every single action, you're not going to have that problem. But realistically, nobody has a mouse or a keyboard to where they're going to bind every single key on their keyboard that they're able to comfortably hit independently. It's just not going to happen. A lot of people have different double key bindings in the game. It's basically just merging multiple keys to one button press. So a pretty common one would be aiming and holding breath. There is a flaw doing this. We'll talk about in a second. But if you set your aim to press, and if you set your hold breath to release, save it, exit, you're able to do multiple things at the same time. Aim in and hold breath at the same time, right? Just like that. Usually you'd have to aim in and then press hold breath separately, but it's just a double key binding. Instead of me doing it in the game, I'm doing it on the Logitech app. The problem is you have to have your aim on press, but I use continuous. I'm gonna set that back to what it was. Another place I have to do this is on scope zoom in and scope zoom out. We're just gonna be talking about the most complicated things in my settings first. So again, I'm using R control as the modifier key. The reason I have to do this is because not only do I use scroll wheel to zoom in and out of the scope, it's the only keybind you can use that doesn't break the game. I also use scroll wheel to change guns. I've always played like that for the 3-4 years I've owned PC. If I set it to something that makes sense, like this, right mouse button, scroll wheel up, right mouse button, scroll wheel down. So basically in the settings, it looks like if I aim in with right mouse button, and I also use my scroll wheel while I'm holding down my right mouse button, it's going to zoom in only when I'm scoped in. Let's check it out. If I zoom in, it works fine. But if I zoom out, it's going to swap to my secondary gun. The reason it does this is because the game doesn't understand what state I'm in. The game doesn't know that I'm aimed in the settings. It's strange. It doesn't work. So again, I can zoom in fine because I'm on my primary weapon. But if I zoom out, it's going to swap to my secondary, because my scroll wheel is set to also swap weapons. So the only way to get around this while keeping right mouse button on continuous, aiming on continuous, is to set a modifier key up, which is R control. That's what it was before. For this to work, we're going to have to go to the Logitech software. Go to the Tarkov profile. Go to macros on the bottom and create a new macro. We'll name this one just aim. Enter. Click on sequence. We're going to start now on press, record keystrokes, and I'm going to press the right mouse button and R control and then click stop recording. I'm going to remove the ones where it has the arrow above the keybind. We don't need them. This just signals the release key, the button is releasing. When you press the keybind, it's going to work. If you let go, it's going to automatically disengage. So that's fine. We'll save that. And then we'll drag aim up to right mouse button. So what's happening now is whenever I press right mouse button or hold it, right control is also going to work. It's going to activate. So if I go back up to my primary, I zoom in and I zoom out, it's going to work fine. Zoom in, zoom out, works fine. Doesn't swap weapons. It doesn't do anything like that because I'm using a modifier keybind. I have to use a modifier keybind because those are the only keys to where the game recognizes them properly. If you use any other key like A, D, Q, whatever, it's not going to work how a modifier keybind would work. That's why I have to use R control. You don't have to use R control. You can use left control, left alts or whatever. But yeah, I can swap weapons fine when I'm not aimed in. But as soon as I'm aimed in, right control gets engaged. And when right control is engaged, the game knows I'm aimed in. So when I use the scroll wheel to zoom in and out, it works how I want, how it should be. I shouldn't have to go through these holes to get this to work. I wish I can just set it to right mouse button plus scroll wheel up and down for it to zoom in only when I'm aimed in, but it doesn't work like that, unfortunately. So you'll see a bunch of keybinds like that. R control plus mouse wheel down. It's the same logic. If I have a scope where it has another sight on top, something like this, it only works when I am aimed in. And of course, I have middle mouse button binded to something else when I'm not aimed in. It's face shields. So whenever I'm moving around, I'm able to just click the face shield down. So I loaded into a different RAID with a face shield just to show you guys my mouse wheel down is face shield. It's got a crack in it. Unfortunately, I killed a guy for it. But if I aim in with the gun to where it has a secondary scope, I'm able to swap. Both of these actions are mouse wheel down, but because I'm aimed in, the game knows I'm aimed in because I'm using R control as a modifier keybind. It recognizes what state I'm in. So when I'm not aimed in, face shield activates, middle mouse down. And when I am aimed in, I'm able to swap scopes. It's the same logic with zooming in and out like this. So I'm happy I was able to sort it out. If you guys are dealing with the same problem, I highly doubt it. I don't see a lot of people using the scroll wheel for changing weapons. But if you're using something else, you can use the same logic I'm applying here. Scope elevation up and down, it's the same logic, right? It only activates when I'm aimed in. So you can see on the bottom right, it changes the scope elevation. Only when I'm aimed in, right? Which is 1 and 3. 3 to increase the value, 1 to decrease it. Only works when I'm aimed in. If I press 1 and 3 now, it's not going to change the scope elevation. I have my 1 on melee. So that's why it's activating right there. Make sense? Hopefully it does. Any interesting ones? That's pretty much it. Most complicated ones. Go through the usual ones. Smoothly lean right and left. I've said this before in my old videos where I've made settings guides. You can't have it on E and Q. The reason you can have it on E and Q is because you're not going to be moving and slow leaning at the same time. Your default keybinds, Q and E is just normal leans. I recommend separating those keybinds so you're able to do both actions simultaneously. Lean left, lean right, just talked about that. I have mine on mouse. You can use Q and E if you want to. I don't see a lot of people succeeding with that. I've coached a lot of people. You can invert it if you like, make it easier. I have seen people use V and B for lean peaks. You can get creative with it. You don't have to have leans on mouse. Just copy the logic, like I've said it before. Walking is caps. Pretty sure that's default. Can't remember. I have mine on continuous anyway, which is not default. I don't use it a lot. So instead of me pressing a key unnecessary amount of times, just have it on continuous. Whenever I hold it, it works. Whenever I let go, it works. So I'm straight into action. If I want to push up, swing somebody, don't have to press an extra unnecessary button. I'm looking to make my settings as efficient as possible, which I've achieved. So if you want to copy it, copy it. Mostly copy the logic though, okay? Jump, vaulting, crouch, prone, very simple stuff. Next, walk pose, previous walk pose, we went through that. Next and previous, we went through that. Mount weapon is period. I can really disable that. It's not going to make a difference. Very rare occasions I would use this. That's why I have it on a period key. Aiming is on continuous. I wouldn't recommend press. Reload weapon is R. I don't use quick reload. I've never been in a situation where I'm under that much time pressure to where I'm going to survive a situation if I use quick reload. But to each their own. Switch fire mode, set fire mode. Basically, if I press N once, is going to make sure it's full auto. If I press it twice, it's going to go to single fire every single time. Doesn't matter how many times I spam it. If I end up on single fire, if I just press N once, it goes to full auto. If I'm already on full auto and I press N once, it's not going to change because it's already full auto. If you want to copy that setup, you can. I have switch fire mode to double click, set fire mode to full auto on N, press. You can change it to any other key if you want to. And then I have check fire mode on B. I don't use next and previous magazines. I can keep track of my ammo. Detached magazine is quotes. You really don't need that. Check ammo's T. Check chamber malfunction is H. Inspect current weapon is also H. I see a lot of people double key binding this. It's kind of the same logic I apply to the modifier keybinds, etc. I don't find it to work consistently though. It's not as consistent for me to just use the H key double binded. So I like to have a backup key, which is why it's more consistent for me. I'd rather just manually do it. Unload chamber is J. Don't need it. We went through switch between sights. Change scope magnification is on Q because I don't have the lean peaks, regular lean peaks on Q and E. And I have the slow lean peaks on E and 2. My Q key is free. So I have that on. Change scope magnification. Doesn't interfere with my movement. Scope elevation up and down. Went through that. Scope zoom in and out. We went through that earlier in the video. Folding, unfolding stock, like it's just L. Don't need it. You can just middle mouse on your inventory to unfold weapons. Melee weapon is 1 and sidearm is also 1. And melee attack is 1 as well. I have melee weapon on double click, sidearm on 1, press, sidearm on press, melee attack on release. So basically, if I double click my 1 key, melee comes out. If I press it just once, it's a quick melee attack to break glass or something efficiently. And if I have a pistol on me, instead of me taking out my melee or doing the quick little jab, it just takes out the pistol if I have one, just what works for me. Toggle on head equipment, face shields, etc. Mouse wheel down, we talked about that. Push to talk is I have that on my mouse. We're going to be talking about my Logitech. We're going to switch over to the Logitech settings in a bit. Toggle tactical devices, left alt. I wouldn't recommend having it on T for obvious reasons. Or maybe it's not obvious, but I've coached so many people at this point. Switch tactical device mode is 0. I have it on my mouse. Toggle helmet tactical device. I don't use it. I can actually disable that real quick. Switch helmet tactical device mode. Don't use it. Tactical device activation mode. Like, I don't use it. Free looking is on C. Check time is on O. I have it on release. And I have check time and exits also on O. It's on press though. So press release gives me the time of day or the time in the raid at the same time. Similar to the inspect weapon and fix jams at the same time. Interact is F. Discard is semicolon. Have it on the mouse. Drop bag is Z. Have it on press. I see a lot of people having it on double click. There's no need to have it on double click. Hold breath is brackets. It's also on the mouse. Phrase menu, U, double click. Voice command drop down, don't use it. Voice commands, check time and exits. Toggle inventory tab. Slot 4, 5, 6. It's all defaults. And that's pretty much it on my settings. Sensitivity, I have it on 0.161 at the moment. My DPI at this time of recording is 1350. If you want to copy that, you can. It's there. I'm not going to go into why I'm not using 1600 anymore in this video. You can ask me on stream if you like. Graphic settings. This is what I use right now. You can copy that if you like. I'm not going to break down the graphics. This is just what I use. It has descriptions on most of them anyway. Post effects, I don't use. You can use them if you want to copy it. I don't use it though. It's whatever. Sound settings. This is what I got right now. Feel free to copy it. That's pretty much it for the game. FOV 75, automatic RAM cleaner. These are my game settings. I use this to make my game look as clean as possible. I would enable and disable these settings in a different way if I wasn't making content, but I'm here to make my game look as clean as possible. But head bobbing 0.2, I recommend that for everybody. FOV is 75. Okay, so Logitech settings, man. The settings in this app. God, I love this app, man. Okay, let's talk about my keybinds or my macros, whatever you want to call it. On the G-Hub app, if you click on Escape from Tarkov profile, if you go down to assignments and in the macros tab, this is everything I use here on the left-hand side. Right, it's the side profile of my mouse. I've tried to label the buttons what they're called. The big button on the side of the mouse, I don't think it's got an official name, so I just called it the big button. The aim button we talked about, we set it up. This is what it looks like again. It's basically just the normal right mouse button press, but we added right control onto it. The right control is just so the game recognizes that I'm aimed in. This right mouse button, it just doesn't work in the settings for some reason. I wish it did, but it doesn't. G7, which is the previous key. This is what I have on it. Just arrow down. That's what I have set on that. G7 key. The G8 key, which is my hold breath key and next key. Semicolon is discard. Up is next. Down is previous. That's what I have it set to. With that being said, the up and down keys, which is the next and previous, do not do anything unless the menu is active. So if I take a bit of damage and want to heal and scroll through the list of body parts, menu and one of the arrow keys have to be active at the same time. It doesn't matter from where. So what I've done is put menu on the number 4 button on my keyboard, which is my healing key. So if I press 4, menu also activates. And of course, when menu's active and I press one of the arrow keys that I've put onto my mouse, I'm able to scroll through the list. So basically, I'm only making next and previous work when I press a specific key. So I'm able to scroll through the menus and heal whatever body part I want to. This allows me to hold my breath when I'm aimed in without it affecting my movement speed. And my discard key is also on G8, which is the same button as my hold breath. It's just what I'm comfortable with. And it's pretty obvious I'm not going to be holding breath when I'm in my inventory, so I can just discard it with the same key as well. It's nice. And that's pretty much all that key does. So mouse wheel left is set to the letter I, which is my VoIP. Application, which is menu. This app just doesn't recognize it as menu. And down. All this does is allows me to VoIP because my VoIP is I, and I can scroll through lists because it's menu plus down, which is previous. You can't use the 4 key with menu bound to it to scroll through every list because it's just going to pull up the healing menu most of the time. So you have to separate one of the next to previous keys, which is why I put it on mouse wheel left. So mouse wheel left is just menu plus previous. I can't scroll up in the menu because I have it set to something else. But yeah, I just scroll down. That's all I need to do. If I miss it, then I just scroll all the way back up. Mouse wheel right is 0. It's changing tactical device modes. So turn my flashlight to a laser or to just a flashlight or both or whatever. The big button on the side is F6. It's my emote key. It's pretty much it. It's pretty simple once you understand the software. Hopefully I was pretty clear in this video. I'd love to see someone use their G502 mouse to the full potential. It's a good mouse. I really recommend it. I'll make some more guides like this on my settings, graphics, etc. later on. And yeah, if you have any comments, questions, let me know. I'll try to pay attention to this comment section, answer whatever I can. But yeah, this is just what I'm comfortable with. I've played PC 3-4 years. I've always changed weapon with scroll wheel. I've always held to aim, for example. It's important to play what's comfortable to you. So share this to a friend that has wonky keybinds. The first step would be sorting your keybinds. If you think this is cheating, you probably had a bad fall at some point in your life. If you got any questions, ask me in the comments or text me on my Twitch. It's NoGenerals. I like you guys. Appreciate the support.